Once upon a time, in a quiet little village nestled between green hills and sparkling streams, there lived an old shoemaker and his kind-hearted wife. The shoemaker was known far and wide for crafting the finest shoes, but times had become hard. He was down to his last piece of leather, just enough to make one final pair of shoes. Still, the shoemaker remained hopeful. "I will cut the leather tonight," he told his wife gently, "and sew the shoes in the morning." That night, under the soft glow of a lantern, he carefully cut the leather pieces and laid them neatly on his workbench. Then he climbed into bed, unaware that something magical was about to happen. In the middle of the night, as the clock struck midnight, a strange rustling echoed through the tiny workshop. Out of the shadows appeared two tiny elves, no taller than a teacup. They had wild golden hair, tiny nimble fingers, and eyes that sparkled like stars. Without a word, the elves got to work. They stitched and hammered, polished and shaped, moving with joy and speed. Before the first light of morning, the shoes were finished, flawless and shining. The next morning, when the shoemaker came downstairs, he gasped. "Wife! Come quickly," he called. There, on the bench, sat the most beautiful pair of shoes he had ever seen. He displayed them in the shop window, and before long, a wealthy gentleman arrived and bought them for a handsome price. With the money, the shoemaker was able to buy more leather, this time for 2 pairs of shoes. Again that night, he cut the leather and left it on the workbench. And once again, the elves returned, working silently until the shoes were perfectly made. Day after day, the magical visitors came, and the shoemaker and his wife slowly found themselves lifted out of poverty. They were finally warm, fed, and secure. One evening, as snowflakes danced outside the window, the shoemaker said, "I wonder who these kind little helpers are. We must find out." So, he and his wife hid behind a curtain that night, peeking into the candlelit workshop. At midnight, the elves appeared, barefoot, wearing only rags. But their eyes were full of laughter, and their work was done with care and pride. The shoemaker's wife's heart swelled with gratitude. "They have given us so much," she whispered. "Let's give them something in return." The very next day, she got to work. With tiny needles and soft fabric, she sewed 2 little coats, 2 warm scarves, and 2 pairs of the smallest shoes you can imagine. The shoemaker added tiny buttons and shiny threads. They laid the clothes on the workbench that night instead of leather, then waited. As the clock struck midnight, the elves entered. When they saw the clothes, their eyes grew wide. They slipped into the coats, wrapped the scarves around their necks, and tapped their feet into the new shoes. They twirled, laughed, and danced around the shop, glowing with joy. Then, with one last happy glance, they vanished into the night, never to return. Though the elves never came back, the shoemaker and his wife were never poor again. People continued to buy the beautiful shoes he crafted, and they always remembered the kindness of the little elves. But even more than money or fame, the shoemaker and his wife had gained something far more precious. A reminder that kindness given is kindness returned. And that even the smallest hands can make the biggest difference. From that day on, whenever snow fell gently across the village rooftops, the shoemaker would smile and say, "I hope the little ones are warm and happy." And deep in the forest, under roots and branches, perhaps the elves smiled too. Moral of the story: kindness and gratitude go hand in hand. When we give from the heart, the world gives back in ways we never expect.